Welcome back to the vlog. This is a little highlights of my trip to Southern California. I have a child going to school down there, so the main purpose of the trip was to move them into their dorm and get them ready for their year in college. I was able to sneak away and play a little poker, and I ran into and met up with Cato, also known as PokerBeast, at Jamul Casino. I was in the 2-5 game, and when he showed up, the list was pretty long for the 2-5, but he got into a 1-3, and so I moved from the 2-5 over to the 1-3 to play a little poker with him. And then later on, 2 days later, on our return trip to Northern California, we stopped in at Hustler Casino just to see the guys at the Next Gen and Wolfgang Poker Meetup game. It was a lot of fun. I didn't get a chance to play. I really wanted to, but we had a very long drive and not a lot of time to get it done in. So I just popped in to say hi to him and a meet and greet. So sit back, relax, enjoy. Here it comes.
Doug is taking a member of our pack to Southern California to go to some fancy school where they teach you all sorts of fancy stuff. And I'm not sure I like it, because I'm going to miss this member of our pack. I hear they can have service animals in the dorms, so I'm going to do some research and see if I can get my service license. I'm really good at chasing squirrels. I mean, there won't be a single squirrel in that dorm if I'm there.
On the way down, we stopped at our favorite steakhouse. It's the only one remaining in the United States, and it's in Newport Beach. Had a nice filet. If you like steak and fillets, I highly recommend it. We ended up checking into our hotel room, which had a beautiful view of the freeway, and they added to the ambiance with single pane windows. Needless to say, we had to find a different room. After running some errands, I finally got a chance to get away to Jamul Casino. It's located in southern San Diego area. They had a sign just for vloggers, and I love it. Cato did a great job influencing that. Hey guys, I'm with Cato here, also known as PokerBeast. We're at Jamul Casino. We're playing a little 1-3. I was playing a little 2-5, but we got in the same game together.
Let's go.
As you can see, I brought my noise canceling headphones with me on this trip. Last time I was here, I had a terrible migraine, and the casino noise definitely did not help. So I came prepared. Jump into the 2-5 game. It was a new game, just started. I think I missed like maybe the first 3 or 4 hands before I get there. Sit down with 500 in my stack. I find that the 2-5 game at Jamul plays very much like the 1-3 game at Capital Casino. So I felt very comfortable playing in it. And we get off to a rough start on the very first hand. I open for a raise under the gun with King 10 suited. End up getting 3-bet, and I call the 3-bet, and the flop comes ace high with one of my suit. I have some backdoor straight and flush draws, so I called a small continuation bet, and then it ended up getting checked down when I made a pair of 10s. Obviously, the other player had a much better hand with ace-queen and took this one down. So the very next hand, I'm in the big blind, and I look down at ace-queen. And there was a couple limpers, and one player raised to 10, so I raised to 35, ended up getting 2 callers. So we go 3 ways to a flop of ace-queen 7. So top 2, backdoor flush draw. I'm c-betting. I put out 35. I'm just praying somebody has a little piece of this, and they both end up quickly folding. But you win one, you lose one, so I'm basically back to even. There's a slew of limpers coming in, and I'm on the button with pocket 10s. I figure this is an excellent opportunity to put in a good size raise and maybe thin the field. So I make it 30, and I end up getting 3 callers for the 30. So a little surprising. We see a flop that comes 4, 5, 6 with 2 diamonds. Definitely not a good flop for pocket 10s. We do have an overpair, but that type of coordinated board is sending up danger signals already. The player in the hijack ends up leading at it for $80. And the way he does it makes me think that he could have some sort of pair and flush draw or pair and straight draw. And the second player ends up shoving all in for 155. I was considering calling the first one, but it would have been definitely iffy. But once the other player puts in the raise, I'm definitely done with the hand. He has to have at least 2 pair or a straight. One player shows 6-7 of diamonds, and the other player ended up having 5-6 for flop 2 pair, and he filled up on the turn. Sometimes you just have to know when to get out of the way. This was an interesting hand. I have 2 5s, open for a raise to 15. I only get called by a newer player who just sat down at the table. Flop comes 8, king, 8. So I definitely have the range advantage. I lead for 15. And now the player does something what I think was quite odd. He puts in a raise to 45. Now, if he had an 8, would he really raise? No. If he had a king, would he put in a raise with my range advantage? Probably not. So maybe he's just trying to see if I have something. I decided if I had a king, this is the way I would play it. I would just flat call. And I check to him, and he quickly checks it back. My hand is total garbage right now. And the river card comes as an ace. As I said, I don't think he had very much to begin with. So I lead out $50, which I would do for value with an ace or a king. He ends up folding, and so I show him the 2 5s. He wasn't too happy. So I forgot to turn off my camera from a previous hand, so I get the whole footage of this one. I'm in the small blind, and this is the way the action usually went. There'll be a couple limpers, and when it gets back to me, I look down at my hand, and lo and behold, I got ace king. So with those limpers in my hand, it's a green light to put in a good sized raise. I make it 35. I probably should have made it a little bit bigger because I ended up getting 2 callers. One from someone who looks like they're a little bit more conservative, and then from another player who looks like they might be willing to put in a little bit more action. So we're going to go 3 ways to a flop with 110 in the pot. The flop comes 3-5 deuce. Not a bad flop. I mean, I have a gut shot and 2 overs, so I'm going to go ahead and c-bet, and I get called in both spots. So I'm thinking one of them might have a hand like a small pocket pair or a medium-sized pocket pair, and I'm probably putting another one on some sort of flush draw. So if a club comes, I'm really going to be cautious, and if I catch anything good, I'm just going to be aggressive. Anyway, I catch probably the best card in the deck. It's a king of hearts. So here with top, I'm going to make a bet, and I decided to go for half pot. So I ended up betting $150, which I feel would get value from all the flush draws, and probably fold out those medium-sized pocket pairs. The first player looks at his hand for a little bit and finally decided on a fold. I'm thinking he probably had some sort of medium pair. The other player didn't take long before putting in the call, so I'm thinking he's on a flush draw, maybe even made a pair of kings with his flush draw. The river card comes as a queen of hearts. Only real hand I lose to now is king queen. I put in the shove, hoping that he paired up with his flush draw. Maybe he had king high or queen high flush draw and feels like I'm totally out of line and might make a crying call for $190. And that's what he does. He puts in the crying call, and I ended up taking this one down with ace king. So even though the game was good, I decided to move over to the table with Cato and play a little 1-3. The table was pretty dead. Didn't get much action. I raised with jacks. Everyone folds. Small blind, I raised with 10. Everybody folds. I mean, I really didn't have anything. Then I kind of put the camera away for a little bit, and this hand happened. We're playing a little short. I opened for a raise to 15. Only the big blind defends. So we're going to go heads up to a flop of ace jack 9. I wasn't taking notes, so I'm doing this one off by memory. So my suits might be off. But when it comes to me, I c-bet for 15, and he puts in the quick call. So we get to see a turn card, and it is a complete blank of a 6 of hearts. I remember it did put up a backdoor flush draw, but other than that, it was a complete blank. He checks it to me, and I end up checking this one back for pot control. River card comes as a 5 of clubs, and now the player leads out quickly for $40. So either he flopped a monster, like a very strong ace, something like ace-jack or ace-9, or maybe made some sort of 2-pair, or he has a bluff. I mean, the bluffs he could have are queen-10 and 10-8. I really can't think of much more. So it was a tough spot, but I decided to call it down. I checked back for pot control so I can call down hands like this. He did show the queen-10 offsuit, which was a little surprising, but playing shorthanded, I don't mind his play. Anyway, we take this one down, and it's basically the only significant pot that was won. Cato and I were out of each other's way most of the night. This was the only hand where we got somewhat involved. There was a 1 limper, and I raised to 20 from the cutoff. Cato was in the small blind, and he defends, and so does the limper. Flop is a complete miss for my hand. It comes queen, jack, blank, and I have no draws, no nothing. So the player who limped in leads for $20. He has a tendency just to bet his hand face up. So I end up folding, getting out of the way. So that's the closest Cato and I came to mixing it up. I tried to steal a small blind, and that was it. So we played for a little bit longer, but the game was not very good. Wasn't that much action at all. So I had a busy day the next day, so I told Cato that I was going to have to go. He was kind enough to give me a ride back to the hotel, and I really enjoyed the time I spent with him, and we had some really good conversations, not only at the table, but also in the car on the drive back to the hotel. So I won $475 in the 2-5 game, and basically broke even in the 1-3 game. 2 days later, I ended up going to Hustler Casino. I got to meet Alex from Wolfgang Poker. Seemed like a really nice guy. I wish I had time to play a little poker with him, but I didn't. But I got this picture, and also I saw some other vloggers there. Fish was there. He just asked for a shout out from Brad Owens, so I'm doing my best for him. And I found one of my biggest fans, and she came in a little package. So we took this picture. I thought it was kind of cute. We had 400 miles to go to drive back home, and we needed to get on the road. So we said goodbye to Los Angeles and headed back to Sacramento. The car seemed very empty on the way back home. It's tough dropping your child off at college and leaving, and we're going to definitely miss them and hope they do well.